Yo, what's going on, guys? I know it's been a while that we didn't have our podcast last time it was scheduled, but hey, we're back. We do have a couple things we do want to talk about. The game, both global and CN. Firstly, of course, Toothfairy. I think Toothfairy is a pretty big topic, and then a lot of people who have Voyager are kind of concerned with like who should they use? Do they use both? Like the uptime with confusion. So that'll be kind of the first thing. So, what are y'all's thoughts? Tooth Fairy, Voyager. Um, how do y'all feel about Tooth Fairy and Global? What are y'all thinking?
I think, yeah, for sure, that Tooth Fairy is probably one of the best pulls you could be doing within, well, all the last patches as well as this one, and also probably the next ones, at least for global. Um, However, if you already have Voyager, I personally think, well, no, I have to rephrase it. If you already have Voyager and a good healer, I think it is fine if you don't get her. Like both of them, as you said correctly, can apply confusion, which is, in my opinion, the first part, which is really important. Um, and then sure, I think the big difference comes in when you have the healing, because if you have Voyager instead of Tooth Fairy, you need to put in somewhere a secondary healer. Um, However, I think if you have Voyager, it's also not as important as if you don't have any of them. And what we can always keep in mind is they are specifically for crit teams. I mean,
Hmm.
I guess Tooth Fairy is a really good healer as well, but if you don't have Lilia, at least currently, like who else do you actually build with crit, where it just gets that important that you need her? So I think she's certainly one of the best picks currently, but I don't necessarily think she's necessary to the point where your account is ruined forever if you don't get her.
Yeah. So I put out a video talking about that. That if your account wasn't built towards crit characters, then she's not necessarily necessary because there are people who I'm not streaming who are like, yo, I have like Centurion, right? And they're like, bro, my Centurion isn't critting all the time, and they're like, I put my crit as high. And like that's one of the things where I believe some people thought that with Tooth Fairy they're going to crit all the time. I will say, maybe you guys disagree or agree. I think as of all of the content creators we have in R99, I think Tooth Fairy was slightly overhyped, and some people didn't really exactly understand her whole kit and thought that they were just going to crit a majority of the time. Where it's like if you don't have your resonance right, you don't have the right side cubes at times, um, then because like I mean, if you don't crit, then half of Tooth Fairy's kit didn't really work for you. You pretty much have to crit for her value to be there. Like she's a good healer, she purifies, but if you don't crit, then you could say Med Pocket would have worked out for you in a way, right? That's how I feel. I feel Tooth Fairy was slightly overhyped. That content creators as a whole, not anyone specific, we kind of hyped her up to people, and some people were like, "Well, like she's great, but like she isn't like the end all be all."
Yeah, so I think it also depends a lot on. I mean, let's be honest, gacha games always will shape the current content a little bit based around what kind of character is new, what you want to pull. So when you have like a new character which is specifically good against enemies which have high crit resistance, because let's be honest, like my Lilia has 100% crit rate, she literally cannot crit. However, if the enemy certainly now suddenly has 40% crit resistance, Voyager as well as also Tooth Fairy get insanely more valuable because that will be a problem at that point.
Mm.
However, if you are up against enemies which have no crit resistance, I don't necessarily see a point of playing either of those. Except for, well, Toothfairy can heal and cleanse.
But
Yeah.
I think I don't really agree. A lot of it, okay, so I do agree with the fact that a lot of content creators, they do say that Toothfairy is really, really good, but I think it is quite justified, especially if you look at the current and future content, right? Toothfairy is definitely very, very high up there for various reasons. I think Confusion is a bit overhyped. Confusion is not that useful, honestly. It only lasts for one turn. You can treat it a bit like Medicine Pocket's first skill, and like the damage taken, it's relatively, like, generally it's going to be better than the Confusion, but that is not the main selling point for Toothfairy. A lot of it comes from being AP generous, because her passives is the one that triggers the 15% crit damage debuff as well as the crit rate increase, and that is in fact higher DPS increase than like the cut itself, like using the Confusion cut. So that is a passive thing that always triggers, like, every single turn if you are in a 4-man battle, right? Because it takes 5 baby tooth for you to actually trigger it. So every turn you are already gaining like 4 baby tooth, and some turns you're going to gain 3 for moving cards in 4-man battles, and 4-man battles are going to be more and more common. So Toothfairy, in its way, it's very AP generous and can provide offensive benefits, unlike other healers that requires you to move to provide offensive benefits. So I think that is a big thing. Another thing also is that we have to consider that having the cleanse on the kit itself is also very strong.
Yeah.
Given the fact that in the future, right, a lot of, like, not just the rates, but even Limbo, we have a lot of those overtime damage dealers stacking like tons of poisons on you, all those nonsense that you, yeah, they would definitely be
the
hurting
limbo
you. So
the limbo has
I think-
debuffs coming heavy soon.
Correct. So I think it's not just this season that they are like focusing on selling you Toothfairy. In fact, I would say that every season from now on is selling you Toothfairy. So I think a lot of times people say if you don't have Toothfairy you cannot play the game. I don't think that is true. That is definitely false. But at the same time, you have to think about it, right? If we are playing this game whereby people are saying, hey, I can clear with everything, why do I need Toothfairy? Then the similar thing, like the same argument can be applied to any character. But out of all of those, I think Toothfairy is the most valuable. So she is the one that I feel like you do need to pull for, because out of everything, like, if you tell me that you can play the game with everything, you can clear all the content with everything, then gacha, you can take it away, right? Does that mean that you don't need to save for anyone? If you really want to save for someone, then it has to be someone valuable, and Toothfairy in this context is what I consider the top notch.
Yeah.
So I feel like, yeah, from a comparison standpoint to Voyager, it's not that.
Yeah, no, they're two different characters.
Correct. I think the focus is not there.
I do agree with you in the sense that Toothfairy is very valuable. Like, for me, I feel like the only characters that are like, I'm not gonna say must pull, because we don't really have a lot of must pulls, like, you know, but we do have very strong pulls, like, you know, 6 Toothfairy are characters that can benefit you in a really big way, mainly because both of them have purifies. There are so many stages, like you said, Kaki. There are so many stages in the future that I play in CN that you just get hit with 8 debuffs. There's one with Cristallo where she hits you with her ult and then you're poisoned, and you take so much tick damage to where if you don't have somebody to purify your team, you're just taking so much damage. And I recently just got Toothfairy on my CN account. I haven't been able to use her, but there's a lot of stages where I'm like, man, if I have my Toothfairy leveled up, the purify is the biggest thing that I see from her right now. Because, like, crit wise, like, I'm kind of fine, but the purify, the team wide purify is really valuable. So that's like one of my bonuses to Toothfairy. If anything, the passive is great, like, in the background. I don't even think about it, but the purify is huge. Purify is huge.
I think that's a very fair point. For me, it's mostly a lot of the time Toothfairy. Again, I don't want to say always because that's well, but oftentimes Toothfairy is sold as this one character which you need to just do more damage, which is important for your crit teams. And I think this statement is except if the meta is literally tuned towards that, where all content has high crit resistance and confusion suddenly gets really important. I think that is the wrong way of approaching Toothfairy, because sure, it's exactly how you said right now. If she will boost the damage if the meta aligns. However, the most important part is the healing and the purify. And at that point, you just have to think, okay, which other character in the game currently is able to provide the same healing and purify as she can? And that is when the argument... Yeah, exactly. And that is when the argument, do you need to pull her, is justified, but it's not for the reason to boost your damage, it's for the reason to...
The boosting damage part, I think you are a bit mistaken though, Riff, because you are thinking from a perspective of Lilia. Not everyone like has 100% crit. In fact, everyone has very far from 100% crit. So just giving crit, right? If you were to think about it from a expected value standpoint, 15% crit is 15% of the damage increase you get from a critical damage, right? You have to think from that angle. You couldn't think from the like ensuring crit versus not ensuring crit. It improves the chance of you doing more damage, and also in the same time increases crit damage. So because of the crit damage debuff from her passive, so you can't think of it like
the crit damage debuff is totally fair. Please correct me if I'm wrong, because honestly I don't know, or I don't remember one of these two things. Can crit resistance go negative and actually give you additional
It can go negative.
It can? Okay. Yeah, then that's a fair point. But
it straight up gives 15% crit rate to every single unit, so you don't really need to care about like crit meta. For units that do not have like crit technique, like high crit technique, I would say that you don't even need to like go resonance into crit. Just the flat 15% crit rate, as well as like the base crit damage increase, like the crit damage just does more damage, right? So just that alone, like for someone like even Melania, the crit technique isn't the highest, you still get like 9% DPS increase, 7 to 9% DPS increase over the like just passively.
Over the course
so
of
I think that's fine, but at that point you can also argue, okay, what if I just use literally any other character in the game which boosts my damage to a certain degree, because on the end, crit resistance threat or anything which increases your crit rate, which doesn't let you hit like 100%, is still luck based. If you don't crit, the crit damage boost will also not help you. So at that point, getting 25% crit rate, in my opinion, doesn't matter if you baseline have like 20% or whatever. At that point, you still have a 55% of not critting, where literally not only the debuff itself for getting more crit, but also the crit damage boost is literally non-existent.
Yeah,
and at that point, I just have to argue, okay, now I take literally any other character, which just gives me 25% more damage bonus, for example, or damage
But
boost,
you have to move a card for that character though.
I mean, yeah, sure.
In casting the debuff, you lose the chance to use lose the chance to use an attack. So like if you were to compare like using a debuff card and 2 attack cards versus using 3 attack cards, you do more damage using 3 attack cards, assuming they are not like ultimates. That is just that's how it goes, right? Unless
like if you're moving
lasts
a
for
lot
2
of
turns, yeah.
But if you're moving a lot of cards, though, you're not getting a lot of baby teeth, right? With
No.
Toothfairy.
As long as, well, that is true, but you wouldn't really move a lot of cards. Like in tournament battles, right?
It depends on the because like the only reason I'm saying is because like my spat like this is because I just got Toothfairy on 1.5.
Yeah.
So with Spat the Dia, I don't really get a lot of baby teeth because Spat the Dia, she likes to move cards. She likes to have level 2 higher cards, is the way her kit works. So I get less baby teeth. So like in some ways, since Spat the Dia is already a character that once set up, Toothfairy on P0 is a character that I have to see the math if I want to alternate turns. It's big brain, so it's not like, you know, and this is a character in the future. So like if you're having to move cards and do all that and you're at P0, you know, it's a little big brain for some people, but I do see what you're saying.
It's a bit weaker for sure.
Yeah.
But
so I just want to interrupt for a second, because I think that's an interesting question. So Miguel Silva wrote, what about character like Regulus that benefit from overcapping crit? And I think that's an interesting question. The problem is, and again, I don't know, but I don't think that is how it works. Toothfairy does not provide you direct crit rate, it reduces the enemy's chance of resisting a crit rate. Well,
it does overflow. It does help the overflow from the counts I've seen at least.
Then it
I
would be
think
interesting because the thing.
Yeah.
In that case, if you actually get basically additional crit damage from overcapping, that would be interesting.
But the problem is Lilia don't have this thing, so that's why she's like Waker once Toothfairy comes out, right? Because everyone else that can, like everyone else kind of benefits, right? If you are not capped, you're benefiting. If you are capped but you can overflow, you're benefiting. So like Charmaine, all this, they're pretty good with her, but
Yeah.
Lilia is a problem.
Well, yeah, and that's why I know I mentioned Spath, but it's because I have her. Spathidea doesn't overcap, but she also can control how much crit rate she has. That's why I don't think, she's one of the first crit characters I don't think necessarily needs Toothfairy.
Doesn't she get like very little crit rate though until like P3? I think P3
P2.
then gives her
P2. Well,
P2 or P3. Yeah.
You gotta think about it this way, because I tested it. So P2 she gets 50% while attacking a burn enemy. At P0 it's 25%. Her natural crit rate she has with resonance is 38%. Her buff each level gives her crit rate, just straight up crit rate. So level 1 on the buff gives 30%, level 2 gives 45%, level 3 gives 75%. So if you have, literally with what I just said, if you have P0, you're at 25, with the 38, that's putting you at 63, and then if you do a level 2 buff, you're over 100% crit rate. And she doesn't overflow it. Of course, with crit resist and anything like that, she can help. But like, if you were to do a level 3, now you're even higher. You're at like 140% crit rate. But her crit damage is so ridiculous and what's crazy is you can infinitely stack the buff, which is why she's a character that doesn't need overflow, because you could stack 50 stacks of the crit rate and now do 50 times 15, and that's how much crit rate you have. So that's why she can't overcap it, because it's
I think especially with Portraits, she's quite strong.
I think also
that's a fair point.
I think that's generally something which is really interesting. The more characters will be released, the more synergies will be there at a certain point.
And I discussed this in my Toothfairy video. The reason why I think she is like definitely in my opinion, if you have enough draws, just go for her, is because the trend is that they are releasing all this like broken freaking crit shit, right? Like Charmaine.
Charmaine's broken as hell. Like, Spathidea really is broken. So broken.
And at the I mean Spathidea at P0 I think is still fine, but let's be real here.
I have P3.
It's more like
she's stupid.
Even if you do not have any synergy, she's already good. But if you have synergy, then she is very, very good. So like a baseline, she's already as good as any other character. And healers in this game are pretty scarce. Like you can just see in until 1.5 who is the next healer that they release. What? Ezreal? Is it Ezreal?
It was a shielder actually, so people were thinking
she's a shielder? So you don't even have a healer like people in 1.5.
People were thinking Ezra was gonna power creep Toothfairy, which I was like, come on. But they showed the Utu video and Ezra applies a shield. So people are still thinking it's gonna be a crit character because he's Star. But yeah, he's a shielder. As well we know, he's a shielder, less buff, has the Ezra stacks, but not a healer. And I talked about on my stream yesterday, like, shielders are kind of lacking in utility compared to healers. The healers are stacked right now. Shielders don't compare, like, in terms of what they provide to a team. Like,
honestly, shielders are very, like, if you think about it, right, I feel that shields in general, they, like, if you want to create a shield, they must be mandatory. Like, there must be a use for the shield itself. Like, if you don't have a use for that, then like, why are you even wasting the card?
I think that is a really interesting point, because in my opinion, in most scenarios a shield is better than a heal. However, that depends on the characters existing. So if we just take a look, for example, at Honkai Star Railway, we have like Arlen. Arlen is a character which does more damage the lower your health is. It is really difficult to keep this low health if you have a healer on your team, because either he's dead or he's not low health. You can do it with the shield though. You can just prevent the damage in the first place, which is easier to play with HP manipulation. However, we don't really have a character currently, which basically is like if you are at 1% HP, you do 99% more damage. And on top of that,
1.6 is coming.
yeah, I'm talking about the current state.
But yeah,
yeah,
we don't have
I'm just
we don't have an
joking, I don't know yet.
Arlen Hu Tao character.
Correct.
yet. We
Exactly.
have Charlie, but Charlie's like health can be between like just at like
Nah,
Yeah, you
80%.
also can
Yeah.
just get portrays, and then it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, it
This is
doesn't
true.
matter anymore. So
Yeah, this is true.
yep.
But I think at that point it's also important how strong are these shields actually, because if I can heal,
Shield
if I have a
set.
healer which is able to just heal any character from 0 to 100, that is always gonna be better than a shield which will literally break every time it's attacked. And most shields are also time-based, whereas my character's health is not really turn-based. If I heal it, the heal is not gonna be reducted after, I don't know, 2 turns.
Yeah, the
I
shields
don't think
are-
shooters have a place right now.
Yeah, right now
let's be
not.
honest.
But I hope they will build on that, because I think there are many characters, just as Tenon, for example, who could get really interesting if they do something with shields, basically.
Well, with them releasing a shield character, because I don't think you're gonna center content around the standard characters. With them releasing a shield character, we could see a new mechanic.
Yeah, I mean, they can literally just add a permanent debuff to the stage where all healing is reduced by 90%.
Well, the
Have
main
fun,
the main boss, the lion looking one, does a healing debuff. Makes the healing piss poor. There's like 3 stacks of it. So I'm assuming like he's a character that, he's a raid boss that'll have it. Like, as soon as they start having bosses apply more healing debuffs, what that's gonna do is like now you're having to feed more moxie to your Toothfairy to try to purify yourself, or is it better to try to stack a shield and possibly use less moxie? Like, I think it's still an option where you can use Toothfairy and try to get that purify off, depending on how many times you're getting healing debuff and how hard the boss hits. It just depends on how hard are you getting hit to where it matters how many times you need to heal, to where do you really even need to purify it? Because the main boss hits stupidly hard in the raid. He's the only content in the game where I'm like, sturdiness is like probably something you would want, a tankier team, because he hit my Spathadia for 9.5k. I've never been hit that hard. I can't do anything against that, and that was with sturdiness and 6's buffs. So if he can hit me for 9.5 with all that damage mitigated, then that's where we start seeing in the future, of course, where it's like, maybe we look at shielders and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I think on that topic, right? What do you guys think about them catering the content for the new characters, and then like after a couple patches, maybe it'll not be useful anymore? Like, because
let's be honest, literally every single gacha game does that. Literally every single gacha game
what
does
you are
it.
talking about, right, is different, right? Because if you have like a character that benefits from the shield versus a content that is catered for the shield is different things. Like, after the content actually moves on, then the need for the shield would have dropped. But if you have a character that works well with the shielder, right, you can still stay relevant, right? That combo can still exist within other content. But if you only have like very specific shielding necessary, like mandatory content, after the content actually expires, then you kind of be left with a character that doesn't do much.
I see where you're saying, like, the character is only going to be here for the season of like when they do it, or a possible quote unquote raid boss. But I also feel like the character, if we cater it to the content too much, like, people are just gonna be like, oh, so we need a shielder, so then we'll just use New Babel or Tenet instead of summoning for the new character. The new character would have to do something so ridiculous to make you, because there's a lot of characters in the game that are similar, and like not fully, but like they kind of do like similar things. So if it's like, if you just need a healer, then like just get a healer. If you just need a shielder, just get a shielder. If you just need someone who crits, then we have like 8 characters who literally are built to crit. Like, because what's interesting is like Limbo. Limbo's not always catered to the type of the character that's like, it's usually catered to the first character that's released, but not the second. Like, Limbo just reset in Global and CN, and it's not catered to the second character on the banner for their typing, which is kind of interesting.
So I think it's, again, I see also what you're saying, but I mean, in the end, it's a live service game. The live service game will always evolve, and there will always be new mechanics introduced over time, or rehashing old mechanics. It's just gonna happen. And just looking at literally every other game, like let's take Genshin for example. Keqing was literally shit for the entirety of the game, and suddenly Dendro comes around. And suddenly she's not that bad anymore. And the same thing can happen here. Like, even if they cater one specific content to shielders only, and the next two patches are just trash, basically, they just need to introduce literally anything else, a new character, whatever, which just makes it good again.
Yep.
So, except if they literally fuck up really, really badly, I think no character will be wasted over the lifetime of the game.
I think it just goes into full priority, though. Like, I mean, Kaki says, like, you know, Toothfairy is very valuable. I think the next character that's, like, valuable is, like, you know, either Shemaine or Six, whoever you value more. But other than that, like, I feel like no character is, like, a must-pull other than the supports right now. Support and healers are really the only characters that are valued high, because we have so many DPS in those categories. Even though they have, like, bosses that have more, one has more reality, one has more mental. If you have your team built, you can kind of get through that. You know, and it just, it's kind of interesting. Unless they have a literal mechanic that's like, oh, the boss is immune to mental damage, so now you can't use Melania, so now you're forced to use Centurion.
Yeah,
I don't think
there are bosses that are weak, like they're resistant. I wouldn't say immune, right? But they
like the
kind of do
1.1
that.
boss.
So,
the 1.1 boss they reran in 1.5 has double S in mental and A+ in reality, so it's better to use a reality like character.
Correct. And the raids, they are running it like they remove one of those and they replace it with the robot guy. But I'm thinking like the Leviathan, the Sea Serpent one, right? They probably will keep it for 3 raids, because now it's the second time it's being rerun. The next one, they wouldn't remove the robot one because they just added it, right? So likely they will remove either the maiden, the
cut off maiden.
Correct. Yeah, they probably cut off that because like 37 is more recent. So I'm thinking that's their logic. So if we think along those lines, every character would at least, if you cater for the content, then at least it will be useful for 3 patches. I'm just thinking, like, predicting what is going to happen, because it's not really like the raid hasn't run for that long, and maybe they'll just remove it all of a sudden, like just add in something new, right? Isn't there a new game mode?
Well, the game modes we have right now is like, so you know so you have the raids, 3 raids, the hard. I think it's really only the raids, and then the 5-star Psycube thing, where you go through the 7 rounds to get the 5-star gluttony.
But that's not very important, right? That one is like that. I feel like something we should also talk about is like the lack of content in general. Like I feel like a lot of people think that everything is too easy. It's not just day 1 players. I think a lot of people that join slightly later also think that the content is kind of easy right now. Like,
so I'll ask you this: do you so I feel CN is, because you can't prepare, I feel like CN is a little harder than global because of lack of preparation. But in global, do you think that with the content and the level, since there are still casual players, do you think it's better that they cater more to those hardcore players, or still keep it, or is it better to keep it casual? Or do you think they just really need to fix that balance? Because that's what it is like, do you cater to the casual players where there's a bigger player base of them, or do you cater to the min-maxers?
I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
You can never cater to all of them at once. If the game is too easy, the min-maxers will complain. If the game is too hard, the casual audience will complain. And even though, I mean, let's not forget we are all in our little bubble. And everybody who is probably watching the stream, everybody who is actually consuming actively YouTube content about any kind of gacha game, whatever, is more likely in the, I play this game very often and I prefer the harder game content. However, 95% of all players are still really casual. And that is something when we complain about something and say it's too easy, and we would like really difficult content, that is something we always forget about, because let's be honest, the minority is always really, really quiet, and it's really, really hard to actually notice they are there. So
Yeah, because I helped somebody beat Limbo, and the team consisted of DK, Bjorn Bloom, Anon Lee, and an R9 Leilani. I mean, that's obviously not a meta player. So if the content gets too hard, then his R9 Leilani isn't gonna have a place in the game. But then again, to where I could see someone's point, is it the game's fault where if somebody doesn't like do like 2 minutes of research, they could have found a better team? But not everyone also is gonna do research for a game that they just want to log on and play for 2 hours. So I do feel you, Kaki. The game is it is easy. I'm not gonna say very easy. It is easy. The people are beating the content day one, but there are also still from like
I'll say 1 hour, not day
well, yeah.
one.
Well, I was being nice, but yeah, like the first like hour or so, they beat the
15
content.
minutes to 30 minutes to see people posting like.
But you have to look at the
Discord,
positives, right? I don't have a lot of I3s, and I can beat content I2 level 50 without putting in a gross amount of like resources into my characters. I can still beat content. I think for the long run, for casual players, that feels better versus like, you know, being like, oh, you have to I3 max out ranks. Like, you know, that's a little much for people where it's like, I tell people in global, I2 level 50 with Resonate and a decent team, you could beat everything. You don't need an I3. I3 is nice. But you don't need an I3 for most of the content in the game in global. Because we have the crystal ball, if you're watching a live stream, if you're looking at Kaki's, Iron Rivenous, my videos, Steam Bun's videos, Jockey's videos, you now can see the crystal ball of what's coming up. You get great advice. To where it's like, I think we have so much information that, like you said, the game is just easier. Like, I mean, we're so prepped. We have everyone prepped on their teams that with the literal best characters. And like, honestly, the supports are so good in this game that it makes the content easy. The supports are crazy in this game. You can use like any DPS. You can use any DPS to beat content because the supports are so crazy.
I think so. When we just take again a look at basically every other game which is supposedly too easy, and you just read Reddit or basically any other online forum, there will always be like this argument. Well, the main let's just make really difficult content which doesn't give any rewards. So the players who want difficult content are really happy. And
is Honkai MOC as easy though?
For me it is, but for other people it's not.
Prepped. So if you're prepped, it's easier. I think it's a matter of being prepped, because I can't go into MOC and beat it because my account's not prepped. Even though I've spent money and done stuff like that, and that's Kaki where you feel. I kind of see your point there. Like, it's like if you're prepped and you know what's happening, then you can beat it. And if you have a balanced like team, I don't. I put into like, you know, like 1 or 2 characters. Like I spent money and got an E2 Jing Yuan, but he's like the only person on my account who's really like built up to where like everything else is kind of, because I hyper focused him because he was cool when I first played the game. But everyone else isn't really built, and I don't have a balanced team, and like, you know, I can't just brute force it. I think it's kind of the same like Limbo, where like I'm not talking like us, like high level of play, like us, where it's like if you have the element prepped and you have like a decent balance of your team, you can beat the content once you understand the mechanic and stuff. It might take you a couple retries, but if you're a casual, you can beat the content. But like if you're using like a neutral Afflatus and you don't have good focus on your, like you don't have your characters leveled properly and a good resonate and all that stuff, and you're probably gonna struggle. Because like there's people who on Forget Me Not couldn't beat him, and I was like, all you have to do is just Moxie control him and he's an easy fight. But like not everybody knows that.
I think Forget Me Not is quite difficult for casuals.
Yeah, a lot of people struggled on Forget Me Not. But like again,
that part we do agree.
Yeah, Forget Me Not was difficult for casuals, but if you know how to control his Moxie, he can't do anything to you. But you have to know that prior, you know.
Yeah, but I think
have to know something. Yeah,
it is kind of the problem in basically every game. So the thing is, as soon as you do really difficult content, nobody's gonna play it. Because, if you do really difficult content with no rewards, nobody's gonna play it. The casuals will not play it because they can't beat it, and the hardcore gamers will not build it because they don't get resources in-game for literally anything. And there have been more than enough tests in other games about this, that it, like from a developer's perspective, there is no reason to ever implement, to basically spend money to implement something which nobody is gonna play. So you have to implement literally anything which is easy enough for everybody to beat so they can get the rewards. Because if you don't get rewards because it's too difficult, then the casual player base will actually complain about it. And they will quit the game because they just say it doesn't matter, I can't keep up.
Okay, so how about we ditch the easy, difficult content topic? How about we talk about, is there enough content? Like, easy or difficult? Like, because if you look at the amount of content we have currently, right? Do you think that is enough for a 42-day patch? But this is the first time we're going to have a 42-day patch, by the way. Even in 1.1, people already say that there is not enough content. That is 28 days. Now we are having 42-day patch. So we are in the early parts of it.
So I think there are 2 or 3 perspectives you can view it from. If you are just this kind of gamer who wants to spend 3, 4, 5 hours in this one game all the time, there's certainly not enough content. If you are a casual player who just wants to log in 10 minutes a day, just do their dailies on, now autoplay, thank you very much for that, Lupo, then there is more than enough content because they don't care about more content anyway. They just want something to do for 10 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Then there are the people who are really interested in story, who actually want the story. And I think to those it's catered really well because you kind of have this, the main story, which will be continued at some point at least. And then you have like the little, let's call it side stories, where we had the Millennia event, now we have the Toothfairy event. And if you don't just do everything in one run and you just actually read what is there, you have story for that. So I think that is fine as well. If you are a content creator like me who doesn't do, like, for example, for me, I want to do very specific content. So, for example, my next video, which now I can finally do after I went basically free to play in the game, it just takes an eternity to get literally everything. Anything, sorry. So, for me, the next video will be about Yearning Desire. So, I have to do this video, but there is not enough for me to do anymore in the game, except for like very few specific things, which just take like 1 or 2 months to actually get to. Yeah, sure. I could do like news videos. I could do videos which just basically guide videos, whatever. I could do that, but that's not the kind of content I want to do. That is not what I see myself for this game, at least. So for me, it's really difficult to have enough content to cover for my YouTube channel. And I think so I was wrong, it's not 2 or 3 perspectives, it's 4 perspectives. So one time, the YouTube content creator, where I think there might not be enough, except if you want to cover what literally everybody else is covering, and that's fine. Then you have the casuals, which it's fine for. Then you have the hardcore gamers who want to spend 10 hours every day in the game. There's not enough content for them. And then you have the story people who either want to consume everything at once or are a casual gamer. So those are a little bit.
What if they put rates out in 1.3?
So
I mean, like,
the answer to your question.
Yeah.
So I'll answer your question. I think both of you brought up really great points. I think that for it, like, when you like look at the game, yes, for a hardcore gamer, for a streamer like me who can stream 8 hours, I can't spend 8 hours on my global account. Like, I can't. Like, it's just literally me just like making up what to do or buying stamina or like just kind of just jerking around. But like, if I were to be the type who, even if I consume story, there's no update to the main story chapter after, we've played for a while. And the only other story we get is out of the events, but most people consume that content already. There is not enough content for someone who's spending hours every day. No, yeah. I will agree to that. If you have your account maximized, you don't have to retry on any stages and think about it and refarm for your characters, because honestly, with the limbo, sometimes they repeat it with the same element. Where I'm like, so now you're not even forcing people to do something else and have to build a new team. Like, people are using the same characters and beating limbo, so like you're not even distracting us with like new like mechanics and stuff like that. So there's not enough in the game. Now when you look at like what CN has, you'll have the raids come out a few days after the new patch. You have one boss to fight, and every 9 days they allow you to kind of prepare for that boss. Then you have the same event, and then Utu later. I think for what you're saying about Seikaki, I think raid should come sooner, because like 1.3 is gonna be another kind of boring patch for people. It'll be the same thing with 1.2. I think and if we're telling people, oh, just wait 9 weeks, because the 3 weeks of Jessica's banner, then 6 weeks of 1.3. Wait 9 weeks and we get raid. That's a long time for content people know about, and that's probably why, and that's why they separate CN and global Blue Pac, right? Because like it's like they don't want people to see what's in CN, but it's like, dog, like one YouTube video and they're gonna see that raids exist. So having to wait 9 weeks for a raid is a little ridiculous, because like I've been telling people, like, let's be honest, also the raid rewards are kind of trash. So like people are gonna wait for all those rewards, and the rewards you can get at A rank and below. That's the best rewards you need.
Right.
S and above, rewards are trash. So like, and then you have to, once the raid does come out, you have one boss to fight, and you still have to wait. You still have to wait for the other 2 bosses, and you still have to wait for Utu. But if they released everything on the first day, then the patch would be even more boring, because people would just beat it in 2 days. All of the content in the patch. So
yeah, I think that's very true. I think the problem is, in the end, you have to always think about what can the player do at the current moment if no event is happening. And
Nothing.
I think that is exactly. But the thing is, I think that is something which is a very big difference.
Oh, sorry.
I think that's a very big difference between games like Genshin, where if you have 100%ed everything, I think it doesn't matter, but you have this open world which you can explore, technically saying. You can walk around, just have a nice view, talk with characters, whatever, adore your characters. For Star Rail, you kind of have the same problem as you have for Reverse 99. There isn't an event going on, you literally cannot do absolutely nothing. You can't even have a look at your characters, at least not. I guess you can, but it's different between a 2D and 3D perspective, at least for me personally. And sure, I guess you can just beat Limbo again over and over and over again, but at some point you just and I think it's important that you get something in the game which you can repeat, which is not necessarily boring. And I personally think,
right? I think just for flex also would be good, like a bit like what Lucky mentioned, right? Because raids, the rewards are not the focus there. It's
agreed.
It's for people to play. Like if I could do like 1 million damage, it is better than someone that can do 800 damage regardless
screenshot
of the
in Discord.
rewards.
Yeah, it's something to screenshot in Discord and be like, yo, I did like 1.1 million on this boss. Like, look at how much damage I do.
But how often will you do this one boss? A day, every single day. How often will you beat this one boss?
Well, it depends, because you can do it infinitely, but it depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, but at the end, only min-maxers will try to do this.
Exactly.
Like the casual
But
player
at least there's something for
not.
min-maxers to do, right? Like the argument is that right now for min-maxers, it's the same, also the same as when some games are very free to play friendly, and then you have absolutely nothing to spend on. Even if you like swipe your credit card 100 times, you couldn't buy anything else. Like,
yeah, sure. But I think in the end, the only answer for basically every kind of game who has this kind of style, which would be Star Rail as well as Reverse 99, as well as I don't fucking know other games. Just add fucking roguelike in it.
That's true. That's true.
Make literally any content which is procedurally generated, just some kind of maze where you have to decide, do I want to go left or right? If I go left, I get this buff. If I go right, I get this buff. Maybe you get some coins, simulated universe basically. Yeah, sure, it will not keep players playing this one game forever. However,
But
it will give
not
them
the boring
something
maze,
to
right?
do.
Like it's a chore kind of a maze, not that kind. We don't want that as well because a lot of games have that.
But like,
Yeah, you
so are
literally
you
just
saying
want anything which has some kind of RNG in it, basically.
So then
That's
are you
li-
saying like Reverse just really only needs a roguelike mode and they'll be fine with all the content that they
I
have?
think that would be really good. And if you could even add co-op to it. You know, we have the friend system. Just literally
Yeah.
make it, make co-op where you can invite with a friend. You go into this one dungeon or however you want to call it, and
borrow a
two
unit.
of your characters, two of your friends' characters. And then I don't know honestly how the card system would play out. Maybe you would take turns where you can, you know, one turn you do the cards, the next turn your friend does the cards, whatever. I'm not sure how exactly co-op would work out, but basically you have like a room, you beat some enemies, and then you can choose, do you want to go to this room, or to this room? And depending on the room you choose, different things happen, you know? Literally just take simulated universe. You will not play it forever, but you can replay it.
Now, I
And-
will ask a specific question because someone brought up something great in the chat, and it goes along with what we said. R99 feels like a really great side game if you don't have a lot of spare time. You can get everything done that you need fairly quickly without spending a lot of time in it, right? Think about the games that you actually kind of do have to spend some time in that are in its same space. I'm not going to compare it to Genshin because Genshin has an open world. If any of you have looked at Epic 7, Epic 7 has so much content that a casual player literally probably would be overwhelmed. Or some of those games that have been around that just keep adding new and new content. Like, I'm going to use Epic 7 because I played it. Epic 7 has PvP, has arena PvP, real-time PvP, guild wars, guilds, guild bosses, guild labyrinth, side content labyrinth, gear farming with like 4 different bosses that you have to understand, a big story. Like, I could keep going. There's so much content to where if games have content like bloat, like, it kind of overwhelms people. Do you think if R99 establishes itself as a side game, it's doing perfect, where like the only people who are upset with it are people who play it too long, which is a smaller percent of the player base?
I think the difficult part here is balancing it. I don't think you should cater only to the side game, but I also don't think you should cater to the full time. You know, for example, Genshin literally can take, if you just start new right now in this moment, you literally can spend 500 hours in it. Or even more, you know, there is so much content to do, you literally can make this game your full-time game for an entire year. However, there's nothing else to do, and it's just a nice side game when you've completed everything. For Star Rail, I think they tried this approach of where they went to, hey, we want to make this a side game, but then they introduced Simulated Universe where you still get like your planar ornaments, which are still too important to pass up on. And this is the one problem where I think they fucked up this little balance. Technically seen, it is a nice side game which you can just play 10 minutes a game, 10 minutes a day. However, they have the Simulated Universe, which is kind of mandatory. And I think this is something which Reverse 99 needs to nail. Right now they have the side game part really well balanced, where you can just treat it as a side game, but they need something to do for the people who want to play more. Just something. The problem is it should not be mandatory. And I think that is a really, really difficult part to balance, because as soon as you have rewards, basically it is mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
But
This
if
will
you
make
don't
them
have
too good.
rewards, there's no reason to do it, basically.
I think the rate system is pretty good though.
I think the
Like,
rate system is
The
fine.
difference in rewards is not something that would make like the casuals feel like they're missing out on a lot. It's not clear drops. It's
Yep.
nothing significant, to be honest.
No
And
whale content
for the people
yet.
that want to
Yeah.
do it, yeah, correct. So I think they need more of those kind of reward systems for the new content that they create, whereby there is a extra mile that you could go. Like in of course, in some games, right, that is the whole premise. Like if you think about games like Eversoul, AFK, Arena, it's always constantly pushing you to the next level, right? Pushing you keep going until you couldn't go.
Literally,
and
the
then,
highest level has cracked rewards, and you're
Correct,
like,
correct,
I can't
correct.
do it, bro. Like Eversoul, I played a big content. You're like, bro, I can't do it, and that's what would happen for a casual in the raids. Like 850,000 damage is a lot of damage if you're not prepared. And the bosses keep getting harder and harder, get new mechanics. So yeah, like if they put clear drops up there, like people would be like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And so I think they balance the raids for the quality of the rewards. Like yeah, A rank and below, you're fine. That's 280,000 damage.
Yeah.
You do that, anything else is extra. Just screenshot in your Discord and just be like, yo, look what I did. I think it is.
I think we can all agree that pretty much we if they were to release the rates earlier, it would be great, because like you guys said, right, how long is it until then? It's 42 days. So it's 42 days for
9
one
weeks.
patch. Right now we are
9
not
weeks.
even halfway, right?
Yeah, it's 9
We're
weeks.
not even halfway.
It's 9 weeks.
9 weeks. Okay, we're not even halfway to 1.3. And then, even when 1.4 comes, is it available on day one? I don't think so. So, it's a long time. Like, pretty much people can, like, just drop the game right now and come back at 1.4. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
I think that is kind of the problem. Like, you need something to do in the meantime where there's nothing to do.
But,
and
sorry, I want to add this.
Sure.
Since we have a crystal ball, though, you also can spend that time farming for future characters that you want, because the game is 3 months ahead at CN. Versus other games, you literally, like, you don't even know what the character needs. Yeah, I think that's kind of helpful too. That you could just like, in the meantime, where you're not doing anything, like, oh, well, I can just farm for Black Dwarf that I want, or Shemaine, or 37, or 6, or Spaladia, because you literally can see like 3 months ahead. I think that game kind of has that little illusion of like, well, at least there is something I can focus on versus doing dust and whatever every day.
Yeah, I think yes and no. I think it's really, really difficult because let's be honest, if you're a casual gamer who just logs in for 10 minutes a day to play this game, you don't give a fuck. You don't look up what
you won't
CN
research.
has in 3 patches.
So
these kind of people, they also don't care, you know, they just want these 10 minutes, they don't want more. And I think Richard and Tian just brought that up in Cocky's chat over there. I think that is a good point, because for a casual gamer, it is really hard to drop Reverse 99. Like, you will not drop this game because it is very casual friendly.
It is. Every
However,
6-star is great.
If you are somebody who wants to spend a lot of time in this game, and let's be honest, most content creators do want to spend a lot of time in this game, that gets way easier to drop. Because at some point, everything is covered.
That is true, though. I think dropping the game or not, there are two aspects. Of course, I think catering to like casual players is definitely a lot more beneficial. Since there is going to be a lot more casual players just out there, you can pick any of the games, unless it's straight up like a PvP centric game, right? A lot of this like casual gacha games, they are going to be made up of mostly casuals people, like casuals that do not even like open a single video.
Yeah,
like they never even join the Discord. Maybe they join the Discord to get some rewards, but other than that, they have never.
It could just be social, though, right?
Sorry if I interrupt the conversation very shortly, because I have seen now a lot of people asking this. And if you're coming to the stream before we started, as Steambun X is late, we have honestly no idea where he is or if anything happened to him. So he is invited, but he has not shown up so far. So
yeah, that's why I have a random image in his place. We're waiting. We're just waiting.
To let everybody know.
Yeah. But don't worry, I have his face on the podcast as well, so that is covered. Yeah, let's go back to our point.
Sorry. Yeah.
I think yes, the catering to casuals is better because people value their time. Because like for me, I think the game is fine. Because I play on stream technically 2 gachas, because I played CN and Global. I can stream for like 6-7 hours as a content creator because I can play the game. I can stretch the game out for 2 or 3 hours, talk and be social. So if I had like, to spend every day like 10 hours per account, like I wouldn't get anywhere on a stream. But I do see the point where it's also like sometimes I'm just kind of stretching the content out where it's like I could really be done on this account. I'll refresh like 2 or 3 times to get a little extra farming, but like, honestly on CN though, I have like, since my account is not prepared, like, Limbo came out, I beat the first 4 stages and 5 and 6 kicks my ass. But like, if I do Limbo on Global, I'll probably like blow right through it. So there, stuff like that happens.
Yeah,
but
very fair.
But like, I think I think the game is fine for where it's at. I think raids will be and you know what? In a way, raids is also catered to casuals as well, is because it lasts the whole patch and it takes 9 days to prepare for that boss. I don't think they reveal the element, but it's 9 days before you get to the next boss, so your anxiety is not as high. You have a whole week and then some to prepare for that next boss, but the whole thing lasts like 30 days. And then you'll have Utu, right? So like I think it's fine.
Again, I think it will also solve itself over time. Like the more content is being added, the longer the game exists. At some point you will just end up where basically Honkai Impact is at. You have like, you could literally spend 10 million hours every single day this one game playing side games basically. And I think that is fine. The game is still young. It has released like 3 months ago, not even. So give it time. I think
sooner.
I think right now it is in a good spot. However, they need to make sure that it doesn't fall off. However, I mean, we do have again the preview of what CN is getting. So
have you guys tried the new Limbo?
Just give me 1 second. No, I have not.
I haven't done the new Limbo. So, I'm gonna wait till Monday.
Yeah, I might do it sometime. I don't really care.
Because I got my daughter's first birthday today. She turns 1, so I got podcast. Cool. Yeah, so I won't be streaming.
Nice.
Thank you for sacrificing your time here.
Yo, this is a true professional here.
Yeah, indeed.
It doesn't start like hours later, so it's good. But yeah.
Yeah, so we have 30 minutes left, and one more topic, and then also 15 minutes of viewer questions. So I would like to go to our last point, because I think we covered basically everything else. Portray power creep.
Ooh, I made a video on that.
Yeah, I will give honestly, let's just start on that, because I think it's also something which plays a little bit into the how free-to-play friendly is this game, and hence casual friendly.
So, I made 2 videos. In terms of portraits, they're not necessary for any character to beat content, especially when we talk to Global. There's no reason, like, there's no portrait on any 6-star that is necessary in order for you to do what you need to do for the character to beat content. I can start that blanket out there if you're free to play. You're fine. If you get the character, you're good, and there's alternative options if you don't get the character. But in terms of portrait power creep, there is a major shift. Every standard character that released when the game came out, portraits are trash compared to the other characters that are releasing. We can kind of agree on that. Every character from 1.1 on all increase their damage with some sort of stack. You have Melania, who stacks with Phantom Thief, Pickles, who stacks with Clarified, Toothfairy has her baby teeth, you have Jessica, who gets extra damage with Poison, you have Nature's Blessing with Shemaine, Planets with Black Dwarf, I can keep going, Eureka stacks. And so they have different ways to amplify their damage, and so their portraits help them get those stacks or refresh those stacks or help enable it from 1.1 on to increase their damage, versus like the standard banner characters just give like, oh, here's some extra damage on your here's a little extra damage on your skill. So when you look at like the characters from 1.1 to 1
But
point.
not every single one though, Lucky. I think like Changling Changeling is pretty bad. Like
Well, I'm not saying
honestly,
she's good. She's the character who's the lowest of the, but like all the other
Of
because
course,
it's not a.
Melania. In fact, is one of the better ones. I think. If you just look at the DPS increase, is probably 30%. The old ones, our standard starters is probably only like 20% at P5. So yeah.
Well, I wasn't saying who's better.
It's not
just saying like they increase it. Jessica Changing
correct.
is the worst of all the like portraits where she still has the old character portraits kind of. It only just helps the poison a little bit, but like it's not as crazy. But I was gonna say
it's not that good, yeah.
The 1.1 and 1.2 characters, portrait 2 is kind of like where you can stop at and you can still have a really great character. Melania is an exception because she's an ult character and her ult gets crazy at P5. When you have 1.3 to 1.3 on, the portraits just get better and better. And we're not talking DPM, but like Shemaine gets Nature's Blessing stacks at P2, and then he just gets more crit rate on his ult. Black Dwarf just gets more planet stacks, more stacks, value for the stacks. Literally 37 gets more follow-up damage, easy ways to get Eureka. Styx ends up having the hardest, like craziest base damage ult in the game. Like the portraits get crazier as we have these characters who have more unique kits, is what they're trying to release. The portraits get crazy. But again, at P0 they're fine. But what were you gonna say?
I think there are, like, basically if we talk about portray power creep, there are two things we have to take into consideration. And those are literally the two words. Number one, portray, number two, power creep. And in the end, I think there are various ways of how you can interpret these things. So the first thing is, does the portray or getting more portrays actually change the play style of the character? I think that's a really, really interesting approach you can always take. For example, you have a healer, but if you get like a P5, suddenly it's a DPS. I think that is a really interesting thing, which doesn't necessarily make this character necessary, but it provides a cool incentive for people who want to spend the money on it.
So I don't think it's as
That's the
egregious
first thing.
is like Genshin, where it like completely changes the character. I don't think it's power creep like that.
Yeah, exactly. But let me continue. I just tried to list like the different ways of how you can approach it, and I think that is one interesting part. On the other hand, you have literally things like Yelan, for example. If you have a C6 Yelan, you literally can solo any content in the entire game because it's fucking broken. And I think that is the other approach which I think this game will take. Also in the future. And I think that is the interesting part, where basically as long as the game is balanced around P0, it is fine because it doesn't matter. If the game starts being balanced around P1, P2, or even higher, I think that is when it starts being a problem. Because for me, for example, I got my Jingliu up to, well, on P6. And that was technically seen a mistake because I can literally zero cycle every single content in the entire game. And that makes the game also really boring. So if you really care about the character, you just feel like you want to have this, I think it is a good thing that it exists for these people who want to spend more money to get like the most powerful character in the entire game or whatever. However, the game shouldn't be balanced around that. Literally, the more money you spend, the easier it becomes, to the point where it just gets too easy that you will just stop playing at some point.
Yeah,
and I think that is really difficult.
That's a pretty good point. Yeah.
Yeah, like I've told people, because like a lot of people are saying like, oh, well, you have to have you have to have P2 Melania for her to work. Not true. Like, oh well, Toothfairy, you need P2. Not true. Saying that 37 and 6 need their portraits to work. No, it's not true. Like 37 to me is a sub DPS. Sure, if she gets more portraits, she becomes like, you can hyper carry her, but like she's a sub DPS in a way. But she still does Genesis damage. She does interesting things. Like I showed Rivenus like everything in her kit, and he was like, she's an interesting character with the fact that she has so much Genesis. There's crazier characters. I think, like you said, yes, the portraits make the game easier. Like my Spathia with portrait 3 has a ridiculous ceiling of how much crit damage she can do. It's wild. But because it's CN, it doesn't exactly mean that I can beat necessarily everything, because like, you know, then I'd have to wail on, like, for Limbo. I can't beat Limbo because like I also don't have my second team wailed out as well. So I think because you need 2 teams in that one piece of content, it becomes easy. And then I can't triple S the main post boss because, like, you know, either I miss up the mechanic or like I'm missing a couple characters. So like I find more I like that the game has more value in, instead of trying to go all in on portraits on one character, it's, if you're gonna use your money or use your summons, it's best to just have multiple characters so you can cover different mechanics and different enemies in the game. And I like that the game is like that, where it's better to have a bigger roster. Now, I'm not talking resources, that's a whole different conversation, but like it's better to have like a bigger roster and have more characters to use at your disposal than trying to maximize one character to its portrait.
I want to dip into Cocky's chat because that is something I highly disagree, but I would like to have your thoughts on that as well.
Mhm.
Esteban said, a smoother experience is the sentence I would use for most people.
Your
And I
audio-
disagree with that hardly, because for me, a smoother experience means that the base character feels clunky. And if a character basically feels clunky and needs portrays feel good, I think that is a hardcore design flaw.
So are we talking 37? Because like, I think, or Black Dwarf? Because there's only a couple characters I could argue feel clunky at P0. Everyone else feels perfectly fine.
I don't
think
they
that
feel
would-
clunky though. To be honest,
It's like I don't
feel
even
like,
think clunky is the word.
I don't I think they're pretty well balanced.
Yeah.
Let's be real here. Like
Just
P0 is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think P5 is P like even beyond P0, I don't even think it's needed. A lot of times when I'm pulling, like in my recent pull stream for Toothfairy, although I say that I'm going to get P5 and how many pulls, I dip down. I hope that I'm not going to get anything beyond P0 because it's just going to dumb down my experience. Like I truly feel that paying is losing. Like if you want to pay, like what Lucky have said, is to get more characters so that you can experience different play styles, you can play around. But the game in itself, as of current state, and even looking into the future, the game is very, very easy. It is a very, very casual friendly game. So why do you want to pay when there is nothing to win in that sense? Even for raids, since you don't have to like
Triple
there
S,
is a cap,
yeah.
right? There is triple S. Yeah, after that there is nothing beyond that. Sure, there is flexing rates just for the damage, but even then, it's not that much. Unlike other games whereby there are some of the unattainable goals unless you have like absolute maxed out characters, or you being able to limit break like beyond what a non-payer is able to do. Potentially arguable that you could do so, or if there is PvP. But in this game, I think it's very hard to justify like I think it's very hard to justify swiping, especially if you want to enjoy the game more. I think that's my take.
Yeah, like if you're a character collector, get every character and have them at P0 if you like that. Portraits aren't necessary at all. I don't. People try to argue me down. They're like, but it makes them this. You don't need it. With how global is right now, every single piece of content with a character, it's 6-star character P0. You can beat the content, and you don't even need to summon every one of the characters that come out. Like Jessica, she's the new plant character, but like she's not even necessary. Like, let's be honest, Bjorn Bloom with a couple copies literally beats her in single target damage. You can do Bjorn Bloom and Lee and beat any plant content that you need, and they don't even do a lot of plant limbos like that. They have them in CN, but like none of the characters are like. There's no characters that are must pulls. You know, there's strong pulls. We already discussed that. So, like, if there's no characters that are must pulls, and we have portraits that aren't necessary, then like you said, Kaki, there is no reason to spend. Of course, I spend, but like in global, I have, other than Sotheby, but in global, I have most of my characters at P0 because I don't need anything beyond that. Like, I can beat the content with the character. Like, and as a content
like-
creator, like, if I were to have P5 every character, then, like, bro, I am one-shotting every single thing I'm doing. And, like, what am I gonna pretend to struggle? Like...
Yeah, I think they're, to be honest, portraits exist for 2 reasons only. Number 1 is if you lose the 50-50, so you don't feel as bad. That is the number 1 reason it exists, and the number 2 reasons is for people who just want to spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
That are like the only 2 reasons it exists, and I think that is a fair reason, as long as these portraits don't get misused to the point where you start balancing around higher portraits. And I think
and they are not.
Exactly.
As of this moment, yeah.
As of right now, and also at least looking into the near future, it doesn't seem to be the case. And as long as that is the case, it is totally fine. So, yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay.
So, people, we do enter the last 15 minutes of the stream. If you have any questions, anything you would be interested in, post your questions into the chat. We will
we
pick
can
up
touch on some topics.
some of them. Whatever you want, as long as it's R99 related. Some point.
Anyone have any questions? Wait, let me look. Did someone actually?
Yeah, if you have any questions, go ahead.
I think someone did mention just now about co-op. Like, we also talk about that, like adding co-op into the game. Personally, I do think that this might be in the realm of possibility. Like, PvP in this game is probably out of the question, but co-op is probably it's probably possible.
To be honest, I hope that co-op will come, but I would hate if PvP comes into the game. I think PvP is an awful thing in any gacha game. Personally, just my opinion. I have a question in Hockey's chat.
On the co-op though, I have a thing to bring up.
Oh yeah, please.
So on co-op, let's think about it this way. So I'll use my girlfriend example. She's been playing this game called Monster Super League. That's kind of like mid to me, but she loves it. She's been playing it for 4 years now. Literally the one thing that keeps calling her back to the game is the fact that she has a guild. And they need to do guild raid bosses, so they have a Discord and stuff like that. So it's a social interaction. I think games that lack a really great social interaction, a reason to log in, a reason to, like, do things with, friends or however many people you have in the guild, the game in the long term will not necessarily fail, but it'll be easier for people to just quit the game and have no reason to think about logging back in. Versus if you have a social interaction, you'll stick with the game a lot longer than you usually would. Like, if you have a streamer that you like, and I'm like, and we all have our own great guilds, and I'm like 40 people in my guild, and they're like, oh man, I gotta log in so I can do my guild stuff, do my guild quest, let's get the guild boss in. And it's that camaraderie that helps people want to log in and have a long-lasting game if they have that co-op. So I think, because there's literally no reason for me to have my friends list full right now of 50 people and having to delete people because other people want to be my friend, when there's no reason for, like, what, so I can look at their wilderness? I don't care about wilderness personally. So then there's no reason to have friends. Well, no reason to have friends in R99. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's the same in Star Rail as well. There's no reason to have friends in there. And while I just want to pity pick on that, Bluepaw, I know you are watching the stream. Please fucking hell, remove the character limit when writing a message in R99. Why is it set to like 50 characters? I can't even type one full sentence.
Because why would you type anything?
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
Yeah, why would you type anything?
What are you talking about?
What are you typing?
I didn't even know there was a typing function.
I didn't even know there was a character limit.
I'm not typing to Changling in this event story. Oh, what the hell?
Alright. No. Okay, so there are some viewers of mine which have added me in game and they asked me some questions. I cannot answer these questions because I have to send like 4 or 5 messages because I can only type like, well, I think that, and then already maximum character limit reached.
Oh, that's...
Like,
I just tell them, message me in Discord. I just be like, yo...
which is totally fine. I'm just saying there are
but
people who use this message. There is no reason to literally have like such a low character limit.
Okay, I get you though.
I get you.
I know you are watching, guys. Please consider changing that.
But if they are watching, please add more social things. There's no reason for like
Yeah.
as a even since you
Okay.
support content creators, there's like we can't even do anything with our viewers other than just add
Yep.
them and be like, oh yo, I see that you have characters. Because I can see your 3 characters that you max, and I can see how many characters you obtained. Like I can see that you have characters. Like
I see you played this game
yeah,
one time.
I
in the
see when you
past.
started your account.
Oh, I see that this player has now quit. Half of the friend list have quit the game. Oh.
Like, that's not-
man.
Um,
That's concerning, but okay, yeah, fair enough. So
Next question. There's something from Airy Square Alliance Gaming asking us what our favorite characters are and why.
my favorite character, I mean, everybody probably can answer that.
Yeah,
It's
I know that, Lilia.
exactly.
Why?
Around of
Why is that the case? Why is the
Uh,
weak character your favorite?
I don't
character?
know. I think she has one of the coolest like the most unique personality. It's like this kind of Russian, British, tsundere kind of character, which really, I don't know. I think she just shined really well in the story as well. I think she has like one of the most unique personalities for me.
What about you, Lucky? I need some time to think on mine. I don't really have a favorite character. Let's be real.
So, my favorite character is the Fool. He's like on a couple of my thumbnails. I think the Fool is goated because he's kind of a troll. He says some of the most random like voice lines. He's like, I just killed 1,000 enemies just right now. And also kit wise, I like his taunt with the corrosion. It goes off his max health. It's pretty cool. I've literally beat content in Limbo with him, which also caters to how easy the game is. But the Fool is just really cool. I hope he gets a skin. He's a 3-star, so he'll probably get a skin.
Okay, I don't have much, but if there's a closest one I can think of is for Ananli. She's pretty cool. I think her concept is like from those horror like Hong Kong movies whereby you have like the Ghostbusters kind of like concept, and she speaks Cantonese, which I happen to be Cantonese, so yeah, I think that's my character when it comes to that. But yep, pretty much
I think
good about it.
Shemaine's not here yet, but like design wise, that dude's just a Giga Chad of the game.
Yeah, Shamine's a Giga check.
Yeah, he's
For sure.
Shemaine is like best looking because like I talk about 6, like I say 6 looks like a background NPC, and I was like,
Yeah.
if anything, no one's gonna summon 6 because his design is like nothing, and then you have Shemaine, this like peak of like just human physique, and the dude just like just starts dancing on enemies. He's pretty cool. Yeah, so it would probably be like move to Shemaine, like just because he just looks so cool.
Any other questions from your chat?
There's one question which I wanted to bring up before, except if there's a question from your chat, Lucky.
There was a bunch of stuff earlier, mainly about Psycubes and stuff. Yeah.
Let me just forward this one question to you, because I think you're the best person to answer.
It's a long ass question.
Was it? Fuck! Stopped writing so much in Cocky's chat. Hello, question. How are you?
Are you talking? Or am I tripping?
Okay, I don't. No, sorry. I was just looking for the question. I don't find it. But I think here's another interesting question because I think it applies to quite a few. I don't have any beast DPS and don't have Centurion or Melania. Should I wait out or rush to get a 4-5-star alternative for all element DPS? For free-to-play low spenders.
I think there's a better question.
If you can clear Limbo 4, probably there's no need to. I think I can answer this. If don't have Melania, no Centurion, you can wait for Charmaine. Comes up pretty soon, right? I guess less than 9 weeks.
Yeah.
Less than 9 weeks.
It's 5.
It's a couple
it'll
weeks.
Be 5
it's like
weeks.
4 or 5 weeks, I think.
Yeah, 4 or 5 weeks. Yeah.
Okay, and then in the meantime, like right now, you don't really need Beast. Beast is like disadvantage in current Limbo, so it's not a big deal. You need Mineral, you need Star, so go in that direction. You don't need any Beast character, so wait for Charmaine. You should be fine. And honestly, I think in the future there will be reruns for Melania, so when it comes where there's a need for you, like for using her in raids, potentially you could get her. But 4-in-1 is not the best odds. Let's be real. So wish you the best in getting your Melania.
I think a better question, well, not a better question, but another question is, yeah, like, is it necessary to for free to play to really worry about having an Afflatus every time a banner character comes up to summon for that character? It just really is like, how efficient are you like wanting to be like with like, you know, Limbo and raids, like, because you could also do neutral as Afflatus and put a little bit more resources into those characters and beat it versus summoning. So that's where characters like, you know, everyone's sleeping on A Knight, but they don't realize how strong A Knight's going to be, because he can be that second character, especially with Balance Please. Because when Kaki brought that up, I did some research on A Knight. A Knight is ridiculous with Balance Please after looking at him, and people are worried about like in raids, because one person was asking like, well, the boss is at infinite health, so A Knight won't work. No, they actually have a bar that goes down and just resets, so A Knight still has a purpose in content. He's not commonly used because you could just replace him with the best in slot character. But see, that's the thing, A Knight can go anywhere. That's what makes A Knight for a free to play. Like, if they I'm suspecting or hoping they will in 1.6 launch a spirit character. If they put out another spirit DPS, those characters, again, like, this will be the first DPS where it's a very strong pull, because if you're missing elements, you can fit that spirit character wherever you need them. And then you're not worried about that. Same as Six. Six is a buffer. He's not the, we talked about it yesterday. We had a great conversation on my stream. Six is not the best buffer. He's not the best debuffer, but he can do both. So if you don't want to have to summon more supports, you can put Six in your team, and he can help with a little healing, a little tank, a little damage. I think those intellect and spirit characters are really great placeholders for people.
Definitely. And on that point, a lot of people ask me why I don't pull for Changling or Changeling. The reason is also because I already have A Knight, and I think he serves a similar purpose for me, because I can definitely clear. Like, let's be real here, if I'm not clearing any Limbo, there is going to be a question that is going to be asked of my ability to play this game. But I don't foresee having.
And don't
any
talk about
clearing
Rivenus like
Limbo.
that, okay? He just started beating Limbo. We love Rivenus.
Hey, no, hey, come on. That's a different thing. He's trying to go in without any healers. That's a different thing. But I'm going to say that A Knight, in my opinion, is higher than Changling for me. Like, my A Knight is clearing content just fine. I even purposefully I'm trying to restrain myself from using Toothfairy in the Limbo, and I'm still able to clear it. I'm using Sotheby. Just for info, and I'm using Necrologist. I can still clear Limbo. That there is nothing stopping.
You're nerfing
me
yourself
from
with your A Knight.
I'm nerfing myself. By the way, I am nerfing myself on purpose so that I could have some fun in the game.
He's like, I'm trying to have fun and make good content, but just letting y'all know, I solo the game with A Knight.
I am trying to have fun, trying to make the best out of it. But yeah, I think we are down to 5 minutes. We can have one last question. Do you guys have anyone? If not, I have a question in my chat.
Let's take one question from Lucky Lux.
Yeah.
No one's asked.
Lucky, you can take one.
Wait. There was one question, but that's kind of a spender question. Nah, I don't see any good questions.
Okay.
From previous stuff. Let's go to Kaki. If you got two of them, go ahead, or if y'all have some.
I only have. I think this one Riff kind of answered. So Jun over here, what other gachas are you guys playing? Even if you don't create content for it. Like, Riff, you already answered. You can go with it first.
Yeah. So for me, I play.
What
HSR.
other gachas are you guys playing? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What other? Or games generally? It was games.
Yeah, games doesn't have to be gachas.
So for gachas, I personally play a lot of HSR and Genshin, basically just 100%ing everything which I have left on the new patch. Otherwise, I've been playing the ZZZ beta so far, and occasionally with friends I play stuff like Played Up or Don't Stuff.
I see. What about you, Lucky? Yeah.
I used to play Genshin and Honkai Star Rail, but I stopped spending in those. So, I guess spending R99. But on my free time, I play Smite. Just enjoyed the new god, Bake Kujira. I I play Remnant. I'm playing Remnant 2 right now. I'm playing Baldur's Gate with some friends. I play Wolong, a lot of Dark Souls-like games, a little Overwatch 2 with the buddies. This is like every kind of weekend. But yeah,
I see.
so I play a lot of different games. Other than gachas, like I kind of stopped playing gachas. Other than the console.
And I want to add, I forgot TFT. Sometimes I do play TFT.
Oh, you're playing TFT?
Like
what rank are you?
Every half year. Solo, I've been somewhere between Platinum and Diamond, but that was before
That's pretty
Emerald
good,
was
that's pretty
introduced.
Yeah.
And like with a friend of mine, where I usually just do
Play duo?
double up, we have been mid to high diamond.
I see. I think on my end, I honestly haven't been playing any other gacha games. So there's no gacha games that are fun. And then R99 is just like maintenance mode, make some content here and there. I'm currently a bit more busy. I'm preparing for a final interview. But regardless for that, other than that, I'm playing Dragon Quest. I just started. I bought Dragon Quest the other day. So I'm playing Dragon Quest Monsters, the new one, the Dark Prince. And it's pretty fun. Like, honestly, I don't want to like benchmark it against Pokemon because I feel like every other like monster tamer game is better than Pokemon. But yeah, it's better than Pokemon. And I've played all like throughout the whole series. I've played.
Relax yourself there, buddy. Okay.
Wait, are we talking about
Relax
non-PC
yourself there,
games
buddy.
as well?
We love Pokemon over
it's,
here.
It's Switch, yeah.
You
I
see the-
guess
You
it's
see
it's
the
a
Luxray?
game.
The Lux in my name from Luxray? Like, hey, bro,
Oh, I
let's,
see.
let's
Okay,
calm
okay.
down the Pokemon
That's
slander.
you haven't
If
played Dragon Quest. That's why, yeah. You need to be
Okay, I'll
exposed
try it
to
out.
some actual good
I'll-
games.
you know,
yeah.
Just
if we go
recommend
into
the game.
Pokemon, we can talk about Pokemon for hours. I have been playing.
I see the Mew
competitive
and the
Pokemon.
Larvitar.
Well, you know, it's
Yeah.
1 versus 2 here. You two of you are Pokemon. Like
Yeah, Cocky hates Pokemon, guys.
I'm an
Put out the videos,
disadvantage,
clip
yeah.
it. He hates Pokemon. He hates good games.
Hey, I did play the latest Pokemon, like the Scarlet. I did play that, but
you don't
I'll be
play
honest,
the
it's-
latest
it's-
Pokemon. You just watch a slideshow because more than 2 FPS are not possible.
This
yeah,
guy,
but honestly, it is not fun. I'll be honest, it is not fun. Nintendo is putting out some shit content in Pokemon because they are not spending enough time on it. They could be the very best
I'm not
that
gonna
no one
lie.
ever was.
So Scarlet and Violet had really good story. Like the story was probably the best in any Pokemon game so far. The question is just if you have ever gotten to that point because you have just been watching a slideshow for the first 50 hours. I think that is the biggest problem.
Pretty much. I think that
my
said about
my last
something.
my last favorite well, gameplay wise, Sword and Shield was cool with the raids, like, but Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire adding in everybody and having all the I mean I'm a dude who's still stuck on the megas. I know the megas were broken, but like just design wise they were cool.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And after that, every gimmick they added has been mid. Gigantamax, Dynamax was dumb in some like aspects. The Terrestrialize is,
From a competitive point of view, terrestrialization is really cool.
it is.
Competitive Pokemon is pretty decent. I would say RNG is still a problem, but regardless, it's still fun.
What
I'll
do you
give
mean
that
by
to Pokemon.
RNG? Scarlet
But
and
the
Violet
main
had...
game, the main
No,
game
no,
itself,
no.
like at this point, they are releasing main games so that people will have to buy it to play competitively. Okay, that's my view of
Well,
Pokemon
yeah.
right now.
That's
The main
true.
game is trash, yo. The
Yeah.
main game is trash.
Someone asked a
Well-
good point. Not a good. Someone asked a question. Any future gacha games to watch out for in 2024?
Yes, Honkai Impact 3rd Part 2 as well as ZZZ.
ZZZ is not.
It
It's not
depends on
looking
what you
good.
want. No, ZZZ is looking very good. It's just very
Really?
different. Yes, it is looking good.
How do
However,
y'all feel?
it is not what...
Wuthering Waves.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do y'all
Talking
feel
about
about Project Mugen, Wuthering Waves, Arcanite's Infield, like kind of open world ones? How do y'all feel about those?
Wuthering Waves, I think, will be really difficult to say as of right now, because every game which starts dipping into the open world There was a Reddit thread recently. The problem is open world needs to be really well done, or it is just there to exist, so it doesn't matter. And I think Wuthering Waves has like its own certain niche, which it tries to play into, and I think they have to because they will probably not nail the open world part because it's really difficult.
I think there's a really big
Maybe I'm
problem
wrong.
with Wuthering Waves that's kind of interesting. So if you look at Wuthering Waves has the same kind of style as Punishing Gray Raven, where the colors are a little bland. If you just kind of compare it to like Genshin specializes in having those Nintendo colors, those really bright and vibrant colors in the open world. Wuthering Waves open world
Wuthering Waves
compared
is
to
very
Genshin,
dark, right?
Huh?
It's kind of dark.
Yeah, and so because I think open world games, like, you have to have something where like casuals just won't mind walking around and just like having fun. Genshin kind of like with that just bright and just like kind of fairy like colors. Oh, there goes Steam Bun. With those bright and fairy colors, like it attracts.
Yeah, we are about to end though.
Yeah, it attracts more people. Whereas like WWW, like Wuthering Waves, like it has even like, but like even the characters don't. Not all the characters look amazing, and they don't like attract a lot of people. Like there's only maybe like 1 or 2 characters in Wuthering Waves where I'm just like, oh yeah, those characters are really cool. But I think the colors matter for that open world, because like Tower of Fantasy, just messed
He
up
did
that.
it. He's there.
Because Tower of Fantasy had an
Shortly
open
before
world,
we end.
but that game didn't do as well. Hey, Steam Bun.
Steam A.
Let me turn this down. I'm so sorry. I had 3 alarms. I still couldn't wake up. Might have slept too late yesterday. Oof.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we are shortly about
you have
to
your
end
points.
this.
Yeah, but we are going to end soon.
But we'll get you
Like,
on
actually
the.
not soon. It's like right now.
We'll get you. We'll get you back though, because we kind
Yeah,
of
that was
prepped.
We'll get you back again.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Oh, you're all
yeah,
No
good.
problem. No problem.
Might have spent too much time playing a pay-to-win game. But...
This guy. It's all good, bro.
All right.
But we'll get you. Yeah, we were just kind of talking, just to end out the stream.
Yeah,
But guys, we will post next time we have a stream. So obviously, we'll have maybe. Do you guys think we should, if we have time, looking at schedules, we could do one, I guess, sooner? You get Steam Bun, because a lot of people have been asking about Yakuza.
I'll have to look into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We will see how it goes again. All
Yeah.
right. Thank you, everyone.
Yes,
Thanks for
thank you,
tuning in
everybody.
for the stream. Hope you guys enjoyed. And also, like, next time we'll definitely have Steam Buns again.
Yeah,
Yes.
I do apologize. That
Yeah.
I had 3 alarms. I couldn't wake up from it. So,
Don't worry, we will get you in on the next one. Let's see. We will just. Okay, the chat requires Steam to say anything. Please, it's your word to say goodbye to everybody.
Just a minute.
Oh,
or
well.
two.
sorry about not showing up properly, but yeah, I will be here's a quick I guess a quick preview of my next video, just to tell you guys. I'm currently working on a quick story summary for 1.2. Hopefully I will be able to continue to do that, but yeah, that's what I'm working on right now. For those people who wanted Voyager guide. And after Ezra, I will be also covering more of the meta stuff about, you know, what the future of 4-man team will be. But yeah.
Yeah. You and I have talked about the 1.5 stuff. Like, we've hopped into the streams. Game's really interesting what they're doing right now. See Ezra, if he'll be useful or not.
Mm-hmm.
Shield. But
oh, by the way, Chinese New Year is going to be Chinese New Year is going to be the next patch.
I'm sorry, guys. I have to drop off already.
oh
you guys
yeah,
can
sorry, I
continue.
saw you, Cocky. Yeah, I know you're busy.
Fine, please.
All right, you're good, bro.
Oh,
Yeah, I have
Yeah,
to drop
Cookie.
off. See you guys.
See ya.
just to add, yeah, Chinese New Year could be the next patch 1.6, so something to look forward to.
Okay. So
Oh,
that
yeah,
should be
let's see.
1.6.
I mean-
we'll see.
From my perspective, we can still continue this for like 15 more minutes or something, so Steam just didn't join for nothing. You have time, Lucky.
Yeah, let me. Oh god. Put that screen back up, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Wait. Okay, so I will just share this.
You can talk with Steamboat.
Oh no, leaks.
Um, but
Wait,
Steamboat.
this
So
one.
we talked about just to kind of summarize what we talked about for a little bit. We talked about the content in the game. We talked about raids, like just them adding the new content they're adding for global in the future. We talked about Toothfairy, how she's like a very strong pick for most people. We talked about some of the portraits, how the game is fairly easy right now on global, that no character is a must pull, but there are very strong pulls. Portraits aren't necessarily necessary. Kind of like a little summary of what we talked about the whole time.
Yeah, Toothfairy as a character, right? So, mathematically speaking, she can increase team's overall performance compared to other healer by about 10 to 15%. This is why she's strong.
Yeah, Kaki was saying the same
existence,
thing.
right?
Yeah, just her existence passively is really strong.
That's what make her relevant for all this long, because no one else. However, I have to say, recently, right, they have been releasing characters that doesn't fit her. So, the new character Spathodia doesn't fit her because she can be self-sufficient with crit.
Yeah, I think we talked about that, or I was talking about it. She can literally control her own crit to where it's like you don't need her at all, because she can just overcap herself crit, and she doesn't overcap crit. It's just she has ridiculous crit damage. Yeah.
Right, and then also Eternity, Charlie, those characters just don't really fit her. It won't work. Their base crit is so low. Even when they're crit, they're not doing too much damage. And you're giving up tons of attack and stuff for it. But I think in the future we might still see more. They just did Toothfairy rerun in China, right?
Yeah, 1.5, yeah.
I got her to P2 on there as well, so...
I got my one copy, lost 50/50s.
Really?
I had to spend $200 for one copy. It is not nice.
Damn.
I lost 50/50 on global and CN.
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
My global rate has been terrible. Whoever have watched my stream knows it. I have lost so many 50/50s and hard pitted every single banner. Every single banner have hard pitted once, right? And somehow my CN account, I was free to play until this patch.
You serious? Because your account is crazy.
Yes. That's why I don't have portraits, right? Just one copy.
Okay.
But I'm so lucky on there. And I only skipped 1.3.
Everyone was asking what pay-to-win game are you playing, and someone said you were playing Echoapocalypse or whatever.
Yes, I'm actually currently playing it. I already spent like what, $800 on it. I'm planning to make a video called The Peak Gacha Gaming. Now, it might be sarcastic, but I'm basically going to very die hard praising the game and tell you why pay to win is good. But obviously, if you don't know me, you'll think I'm actually being serious. But I don't look. They sponsor tons of content creators. Nobody talk about how pay to win the game is.
You know what? It's right. I saw a lot of sponsored content creators. But I played it. I played it 2 days now. I spent $1. But every other hour, maybe even 30 minutes, they pop up a new $5 pack here, $5 pack there that gives like 10 pull, 10 pull, 10 pull, 10 pull, and then you have to get so many copies of the character. But yeah, I did want to ask.
From a course.
I was gonna ask something.
From a core aspect, right?
Oh yeah, keep going on your point. Yeah, I'll ask you after this.
Like, I was just trying to say, from a core aspect, right? The game itself have so many systems. Every single system increase your battle power.
Yes, everything from friendship to just completing a stage to anything. Yes. I saw that. Yeah.
You can buy everything. You can buy so many ways to increase the stats of your team overall, and then there's so many ranking. In fact, there's a ranking going on right now. The only thing you're competing is how many dupes you have. It's called the preparation or something. And yeah, the game is incredibly pay to win, and I have watched videos about content creators saying good thing about it, and nobody mentioned a single thing about all the pay to win stuff, about all the packs, about all the the recharge rebate, the PvP, the battle power, all those stuff. Nobody mentioned it. So
Just sounds like Nino Kuni, to be honest.
Yeah, kind of similar. So Steam Bun. So with the fact that we have a couple characters that don't work with Toothfairy, do you think that's healthy for the game that we have characters that don't need Toothfairy? Because like I think it becomes boring where you have a character that is so important where you see everybody who has her and she's so good that where you don't have her, you feel like you're lacking. Do you think it's a healthy thing for them to have characters in different team comps that just don't need a Toothfairy?
absolutely, because like if you think right now, right, they're actually pushing for a lot more variety. They're building different systems, like the new one with Spathodia with Burn. It's not necessary to have her in there, but you can. And they're also pushing for multi-elemental teams,
Yeah.
with each of the raid pushing for 2 elements, right? Outside of the one having advantage, the units of the sim element also have a stats boost. Now, previously, they were doing something really unhealthy for once. They tried to completely knock Plant Team out by reducing Plant Team's damage by 30%, but they walked back on that immediately. So, and now I watched your stream, right, after the fact, and you was able to reach triple I's on the raid, right?
Yeah.
With
on
not anything crazy, no pro trade or anything, right? So I think the game is reaching a good point with this strategy side of things. So if you kind of know what you're doing, or if you learn, if you copy some of the other people's strategy, you can achieve pretty good result, despite not having all the characters and not needing every single character, even just not needing Toothfairy as a whole. You definitely make things easier, but you don't need her. Also, like, if every team just better with Toothfairy, people are gonna feel really bad when they don't have her. So
Yeah, because I see games that where a lot of the meta is like, oh, just have this character and you're good. And I don't think for the long term of the game, like for some people they could just be like, well, I'd rather have one character that works everywhere, so I don't have to summon. I was like, but for the health of the game, it's better to have multiple teams that are viable. Because I think a lot of people think like, so it's either you build a crit team or you're just not doing as great of damage. Where I'm like, well, no, there's other teams that do really well that don't have crit. I think crit is just an option you can do in the game, and I like that you have, other teams that have purposes in the game. And a lot of people talk raids, but raids is such a small portion of the game. There's other content where some of these other, because people are like, oh, so you only need single target in R99. Not true. There's multiple AoE situations in this game. When you have like limbo, hard modes, Utu, and all that, and raids don't even give comparatively anywhere close to the rewards that the other content in the game has. Because they want to balance raids for casuals and min-maxers to where the rewards aren't even crazy. You don't get any summons, you don't get anything out of it. So like maximizing your account solely on raids isn't necessarily even the best thing, because there's still a lot of AoE content needed in other content in the game.
funny that you mentioned it. They actually had more reward for raid before, but then they also walked back on that.
Yeah, 1.4 did, but yeah, they 1.5. I remember 1.4 because I started right before that, and when I was doing it, the raids looked good, but like, yeah, they kind of, and I think it's because of that, because like you have to have the, we talked about it earlier, the balance between casual and min-maxers, and I think they have a somewhat healthy balance. Someone was asking if raids are hard. Raids are as hard as you make them. You get the best quality rewards at A rank. Anything above is just something you want to show off. But like, if you can match the Afflatus, like you only need to do 280,000 damage. That is very achievable for like free to plays easily. If you can just have a decent character or a decent somewhat team, you can achieve that easily. I don't know how you feel, Steam, but
that's exactly how I feel. I didn't even reach S tier on the first setup, right? Because I see the account was pretty bad. I might have all the characters, but they were not built. We're looking at characters all sitting on rustiness level 7 and 8, because I was not taking the game super seriously until 1.3. And yeah, I was racing all kind of characters, and my account was all over the place. But overall, I think raid is where, you know, min-maxers have fun, right? Min-maxer really enjoys just, oh, I can get a little bit more damage. Even though I'm already SSS, I can still try to push out more. I think I can optimize something, stuff like that, right? Or just testing out different team compositions. That's where you can limit test your team, which is also fun. But for casual, right, just jump in, do like a few rounds, get the overall reward, and you're good to go. Majority of the big rewards are outside of the one at A rank, is the one that you get from cumulative points, right?
yes,
you just
the
play a few
2.5
times and you get it.
mil. Yeah, just do it over and over again and you get it.
And there is absolutely no bar for casual to play. I mean, to clear, right? There's no bar for casual to clear. You can just enjoy the game if you don't want to go hardcore with this. And for those who want to go hardcore, there's no cap on how hardcore you can go.
Yeah, because like the 4-man content is like, it's literally, you could just bring 2 buffers, healer, and a DPS, and you can clear it. You can bring 2 DPS, a buffer, and a healer. You know, it's there, because someone was asking like, well, like what's the 4-man team? Honestly, just have a healer, support, and DPS, and that 4th character can be whatever you want. It's not really that difficult. Now, yes, there are some that have specific mechanics, and you know, us as content creators will go over those bosses when they happen. But guys, the hardest boss is the one that we don't have a flatus advantage to. The lion, spirit lion, is the hardest boss. But like, you can still get them A rank rewards on him. You know, if you're trying to go to S and above, then he's gonna probably one-shot you. But you know, other than that, like all the other bosses are fairly easy to deal with. Especially
the boss is still gonna one-shot you, even if you're well. Just let you guys know.
I well on my CN account, and like I said, I got hit for 9.5k with a reality and mental defense, and with the sturdiness buff. I got one shot on my my Spathadia, who's max level R10. Like 9.5k with reduced damage. There's nothing you can do. So yeah. It's,
play the mechanic.
Yeah.
Play the mechanic. Mandatory reading here.
Yeah, because I didn't know the mechanic on that one boss fairly well, and you told me, and I literally triple S'd it after you told me, and I was like, oh, okay, because like I was unsure because I couldn't translate it well, so I was like, Jesus, I was like, I don't know how this this mechanic is, and you're like, oh, just do this, especially because you were like, you have the burn team. The burn team helps with lowering the battery, and then I was like, oh, well, that got significantly easier. So.
Yeah, burn poison, all the duties.
What were you gonna say?
But
Ribbons?
let's be honest. Like, which gacha gamer is actually reading in game?
Oh well, that's a different topic. Who actually reads? That's a whole different topic.
Yeah, but I think it is not necessarily an unimportant point. So I just know it from myself. Like, I've developed 1 or 2 games, and whenever I published it on Steam, the people just don't read at all. Zero. You literally need.
We exist. We're content creators. We read so they don't have to.
I mean, sure, but again, the casual player base will not look up content creators. They will just say this boss is too hard.
Well, probably. That's why the best ranks are at A, to where you can ignore the mechanic and still get the max rewards. The mechanic matters once you go beyond A, because when you get to that last orange bar where it's infinite, it's almost like a whole different boss in terms of damage, and what he can, like, he doesn't necessarily majorly change what he does, but his mechanic matters more because he hits you really hard, and that's just what happens. Someone's asking what's the best 4-man team. That's a hard question to ask, because like we could give
the
you
one you have built.
Yeah, like, because we could give you the like banner character. Like, because I could honestly say, like, the way that they launch the raids, just have the banner character, and that's the best team. Anywhere from that, it's just matching the Afflatus. It's a hard but also easy question. Just match the Afflatus, and that's your best team. Whatever you have, if you're not going to get the banner character, that's like a blanket statement. You could say there's some raids
That's
where
the only thing you can say, though. That's the only thing you can say, because if you look at it, every single in-game content have specific environmental change that buffs and debuffs that affect how team performs, and there's nothing you can do about it. This is how the game goes.
Yep. Like I mean, there's most of the raids like, you can bring a Toothfairy. Some of the raids, you probably have to bring a Toothfairy and another healer because like you'll be taking too much damage even if you're healing. Some of them have anti-heal, and you have to worry about that. So there's different situations in them, but they are not ridiculously hard, thankfully. So,
Actually, because we kind of have to get to an end at some point of this, I have a last question, which we have brought up before, but I think it would be interesting for Steam Planex as well to chime in on that. So, you know how HSR has specific characters with very specific HP mechanics, such as Arlen, for example, who you just do more damage the lower HP you are. And up until now, we really didn't have, at least in R99, we mostly had healers, and the shielders don't really matter. Do you think that if they start introducing more shielders, that they also will start adding mechanics where you will need to keep certain characters at certain HP points to trigger certain effects?
They actually already have something similar. They don't.
Well, except Charlie.
I mean, HP manipulation, right? HP manipulation with Eternity. We have something similar, right? It's Activision outside of she doesn't gain benefit from losing HP. She has HP manipulation, but I think that mechanic, it's really fun. It's not very healthy. Think about it.
Oh, interesting point. Yep.
When you're playing, when you have those kind of characters, for example, Blade from Honkai Star Rail, he doesn't die. He doesn't die.
Yeah, but
right?
that's because his kit is like designed around that. I think the way better example is Arlen, because he can die.
Yes,
or you think about Hu Tao from Genshin.
But
I
those
like
kind
Hu
of
Tao.
characters have another issue. In this game, all characters share action points in a given turn. You also have less control over which skill you have.
Ooh, I see you. So like that character,
This can feel really bad to play. I'm just saying.
Interesting, but I guess you can kind of counteract that, no? Like you can give a character, for example, let's just say that his, like both incantations are basically the same thing, just one thing does mental damage, the other one does reality damage, just as an example, but otherwise it's the same. You know, they could introduce a character which literally does split damage. Why not? And then they have like the inside passive where, for example, it says every starting hand is guaranteed to have one of these two things. And then another inside passive which says if HP is below 50%, you do more reality damage. If you are above 50%, you do more mental damage. You know, just spitting something out. And at that point, you could play around that if you have like a shielder.
I think
because
it
you
would
could either
give more purpose for a shielder, for what you're saying, for sure. Because I don't think shielders are necessary right now. So like with what you're saying, exactly like with Arlen, there's no reason to like, because the healers are so cracked in terms of support. You have Med Pocket, you have Balloon Party is good, Sotheby for her poison team, you have Toothfairy who's amazing. Like the shielders just seem like they're lacking, and like so much so that people are like, these characters are completely trash. And if Ezra's going to be a shielder, Ezra's going to have a bloated kit to make Ezra want to be, because Ezra's going to be the first grade up shielder. Ezra's going to have a bloated kit to even want to be used. I don't know if you know any more than what we know, Steambun. I haven't seen any new information, but that's how I feel. Ezra's going to have a bloated kit.
So I think
sorry. Go ahead, you first.
So for example, I think Fushuan is a cool example as well, because it is technically a support healer type of character which literally doesn't heal. She just prevents damage in the first place, which gives her a very different role in the game than Luocha, because she can literally prevent one-shots. And in this game, I mean, sure, you could just copy-paste Fushuan basically into this game, but shields do prevent one-shots. Or at least they should. That should be the purpose of kind of shielder. Like either you prevent a one-shot or you use the shield to do some HP manipulation in the certain, like in the sense of you can keep a character at a certain HP percent. But that only works if the shields are strong enough.
Mm-hmm.
That is interesting idea, right? That is interesting because as far as so I actually do have concern with things like Shielder and stuff because if you make them too relevant, that means you make content that cannot be cleared without them.
Yep.
Right. You make them you make them not as relevant, they're just not that important. So, and in a game like this, right? Especially with now 4-man team, we have more open space for skills.
Mm-hmm.
A 4-man team with 4 skill open. It likely when it comes to shielders, they're just going to bring extra utility. When judging characters, especially for example on my initial tier list, right? The goal of that initial tier list is for anyone to see, okay, we ignore the utility, we ignore everything else. We just look at how much brute force these characters have. Because brute force is the way if you want to just casually ooga booga through the game.
Yep.
Right. So when it comes to Shielder, what I think is they likely is going to provide them ability to either support specific character, which is currently what the general conscious is with Athreus. He is going to support 437. He is going to bring follow-up attack to a much more useful state.
That's the theory, but we don't know for sure,
that's
right?
That's the theory.
Yeah, that's the theory. Because if he doesn't, it's going to be disappointing. If he does,
it's gonna be disappointing, but I don't mind. We'll see how he.
Yeah,
works.
I mean, we're gonna get him either way, right? So you know.
Hey, I mean, if he doesn't replay Lydia, then he doesn't replace Lydia. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
Lydia can stay another patch.
Exactly right. It allows people to feel good about their Lilias.
And I feel attacked right over here.
And I think I think 4-man content allows shielders to have a place, especially if you haven't maximized your characters. So to the point of people who haven't maximized their characters and they aren't min-maxers and they don't know everything they're supposed to build, shielders can help you with a healer and a shielder prevent damage, especially if you are trying to go those higher ranks, right? So if you aren't doing the damage to like some of the bosses, you'll need to clear their health bar to kind of prevent taking extra damage from the units. You could use a healer and a shielder to prevent your team from getting absolutely wiped. So there still is kind of a place for shielders. A lot of people like sustain and damage reduction in CN. To where if you can't just oonga boonga through the content, right? If you don't have the DPS, then you have to build up your defense, and that's where I think shielders could work. Could you use 2 healers? Absolutely, but you could also use a shielder.
I don't think that's the point, though. I mean, in the end, if you get attacked once and you literally get one shot by it, then the healer doesn't matter, because as long as the healer doesn't revive you, your character stays dead. You can't heal it at character.
Well, that is true also. A healer cannot protect one shot.
However, I think there is a certain balance which is really hard to strike. Because one thing you have to keep in mind, there isn't such thing as a temporary healing. You know, you don't restore 50% HP and after 2 turns the HP is taken away. I mean, it would be maybe an interesting mechanic, but that is usually not the case. However, shields are usually timed. It's not like this character gets a shield and now the shield stays infinitely onto this character until it is removed. So shields, technically seen, should always be stronger as heals because they are not permanent. However, you can also take a different approach with it. So example, because you said it before, to the way of how R99 is made, you kind of have to spend AP to get a strong shield because you need like a 3-star shield or whatever. However, you could create a character which has like an insight passive, which it says if you do anything in this game, your character will gain a shield, and as long as any character has a shield, they taunt enemies, for example, and gain 50% damage reduction. I don't know. And then the shield can also be really small and only last for like 1 turn, you know? Because at that point it already has its usage without being a permanent thing.
Yeah, I'm really interested what they do with Ezra, because it'll be a new character, which we know new characters have more interesting kits, right? That's just obvious. And we'll be able to see what his shield will scale with, if he'll do any extra actions with this shield, Will he maybe heal under the shield? Like, you know, we won't know. Even though we're literally a few days away, and I'm just really curious. But I mean, each day we kind of find out a little more information. But it will be interesting because I want shielders to have a place, because I don't want people to feel like there's dead characters. Like, people feel New Babel is the worst character in the game, and that she's not even good enough to be put with 37, even though in ways I disagree. But like, I don't want there to be dead characters in the game, to where there's no reason to use them. That's not healthy for a game, right? So
I mean, it's gonna happen, right? Even in, so, for example, in Genshin Impact, Dia is dead character.
but she has usage though with vaporized comps, though. You can use
She
it.
has usage. She's not the best, right? She's not the
Okay.
best. She can just be used there because she was this. I feel like she was unfinished. Her combo was broken to the point where, you know, it cannot connect. It pushed the enemy too far. I remember that. I was there when that happened. But you know, sometimes it's gonna happen. And here how I look at it: the game released a dead character. The character was bad. You skip you skip their banner. Now you have more pull for the next one. Right? That's
Yeah.
how I see it. It's a mistake made by dev,
yep.
and the only price that's going to be paid is the dev are not going to make money that patch for the characters banner.
I mean, they
really
will
what it is.
still make money. Keep in mind that even the casual players will spend on that banner, not necessarily with the money in itself, but maybe with whatever kind of currency you have. I mean, it doesn't even matter about the game in itself. you
Yeah,
know?
and they added it as a standard. But
so-
we have to. What were you gonna say, Ruben?
Yeah, I just wanted to end the sentence basically with, even though people who inform themselves on the internet will not pull on this banner, people who don't inform themselves, which are 95% of the player base, might still do. And at that point, they are just left with a dead character. Sure,
I mean,
they
even
might
if they're
don't
weaker,
care.
If they're weaker, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
they're weaker, sure it does.
Every character, even if you talk about New Babel and you try to put her on a tier list, you can still beat content with her. There's no 6-star in this game that won't allow you to beat content if you put the proper investments into them and they're matching the latest. But I do have to go because it is my daughter's first birthday. You know, she's turning 1 today. And I think
Again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, your daughter.
Thank you.
Yes.
Steam, we did spend a good amount of time with you, but probably we'll get you on another one because we do have some
Yes.
exciting
Alright.
stuff in CN, so we will definitely get you in another one.
Yeah, let's see
okay.
if we can.
Yeah,
have a
so we'll
podcast
look at the, because I
somewhere.
know our schedules are really busy. But guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. It talks about really great things, and I hope you guys got a lot of insight. Remember, if you have any other topics, you can talk to all of us individually. And then, you know, or you can save them for the podcast. I think this was a really great episode. We got a lot of things talked about from different points of view and opinions. And I think, Steambun, you have anything to say to the people? Anything you want to put? Any last
It's
words?
self-promotion time.
Yeah, self-promotion
Small
time.
promotion.
Yeah.
I have a new channel. Well, it's an old channel repurposed. I'm making a long form video there. Currently, there's one video called "The Most Disgusting Take on Genshin Community," where I shield for Hoyoverse and its community by debunking a certain video that was made in video essay format. If you guys want to check it out, you guys can check it out.
Yeah,
I
please
checked it
don't
out.
be-
I recommend you to also check it out.
There's
Okay.
a lot of there is a lot of hates in the comment section. Don't look at it.
Okay. So I will check that out. So guys, check out Steambun's new content. Follow him. He's a really cool guy. He joins my streams. We talk, really social. Because I want you guys to know that mostly R99 content creators, guys, we talk to each other. We're nice people. We're all here. So
No, we are not.
uh,
We are all awful people, but we still talk to each other.
But so, like, you know,
Sure.
whoever's your favorite content creator, you can have that. But do know we all talk to each other. I can hit up Steambun whenever, Jock is in whatever. I think R99 has a very positive community, so keep that up. Like, we don't have to compare content creators, we all have different opinions. Because at the end of the day, we could disagree, but we're cool with each other. And I like that for this game, that we can all socialize civilly versus try to compete on who's the best, right?
We don't have tactile here, so we're fine.
You said what?
We don't have tactile in this community. That's fine.
I think that is very unfair as well. Tectone just literally got shit on by the drama, and he embraces it. And I think that is one of the best things he could do.
I mean, in the same time, you have to look at it, right? He kind of bring drama every place you go. All right,
but why not?
But let's not get into that.
Okay, let's discuss about that another time.
Yeah.
Thank you everybody for watching. I do wish you a great Saturday, or whichever time zone you are in and whatever time you have. Steam Bunx, thank you so much for joining, even though a bit late. We will try to get you onto the next episode as well, just so people have been asking for you.
I appreciate it. I'm gonna try to not play game until 4 a.m. next week, so
that would be great.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess he only said he doesn't play until 4 a.m. next time. He didn't say he will be there in time. But...
Oh. Anyway.
All right, guys, y'all have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yes, have a good one. See you. Thank